I'm Patty Rose with Cool 102.7 and StarTime 1590 radio stations here in Kershaw County, and your host for TruVista Local Channel 39's new show, Dishing the Issue. I am here this evening with our current mayor, Jeffrey Graham. Jeffrey, thank you so much for being here with us this evening. I see you brought your family.
I do. I have my family with me, and Edwards and Sarah, my wife, and Bailey.
And Bailey, the latest addition.
That's exactly
to the
right.
Graham family. We're so happy that y'all are here with us.
We're glad to be here this evening.
Thank you for taking the time to come and dish the issues with me this evening, and hopefully let viewers learn a little bit more about you and what your thoughts are for Kershaw County and the city of Camden.
Looking forward to it.
Me
Thank
too.
you, Pat.
Mayor Graham, will you share with our viewers why you're running for a second term as mayor of Camden?
I decided to run for a second term because I believe that there are a lot of projects that we've started that I want to see finished. I think there are more things that this community needs to do, and so I want to be a part of making those things happen.
Kind of like you just got started, so you want to...
Yeah, 4 years flies by. I mean, I've got 2 children in my life now that wasn't even on the radar screen just 4 years ago, and so just with my own family life, we've got a lot of Camden's things that are happening in Camden that I think are special, and I want to see those continue.
I understand. What is your vision or your top 2 or 3 priorities for the city of Camden in the upcoming 4 years? When
you look at our community, the history and the nature of our community, it's very important that we look at the infrastructure. And as you look around and you see the projects that are going on today, maintaining that infrastructure is crucial to the success of our community. And when you do that, not only does it take care of the things underground, it takes care of the investment that will come when businesses decide to relocate here, and also communities and families that choose to make Camden their home. Those are the kind of things that I think if we do the right things and make the right investments in these times, we will see a successful community in the future.
And our children wanting to stay in the city of Camden.
That's exactly right. One of the things that's been interesting in my time coming back to Camden and making this my home is that there are more families that are choosing to make Camden their home. And so I want that opportunity for my children and everyone else's children as well. And so I'm going to keep working hard to make that happen.
Okay, switching gears. The fiscal standing of Camden continues to surface. I think it's in this economy it's going to continue to be an issue. Will you please address the current fiscal stability of Camden?
One of the neat things that I've seen in working with this community is that when Camden needs Camden, it shines. And so what is important about what we've done in the last 4 years is that we have made investment. We have continued to add to the bottom line. We've had it past a balanced budget, but we've also added to reserves. Our bond rating's gone up. We're making investment without increasing taxes and making good things happen.
So I understand that you mentioned the bond rating. It's an A with Standard & Poor's. What does that mean for us?
Well, when you look at these things, they do evaluate. There's the Standard & Poor's and Moody's. Moody's actually earlier in the year we actually went up. And so when you have that kind of positive outlook in what you're looking at, so Standard & Poor's gave us an A rating. That means for us when we go to borrow money or when someone looks at investing in our community, they know that we're solid. And that's important. So we refinanced something earlier this year because of our good rating. We actually got an even lower interest rate. And so it's just like buying a home or doing something like that. If you have good credit, people will invest in you. And that's what they did in this specific example. We've saved our city around $300,000, $400,000 just by refinancing something for a shorter period of time, just getting a better rate.
And getting a better rate because we're fiscally responsible.
That's exactly right.
That's awesome. And I know in these economic times, every dollar matters.
That's exactly right. When you have a good rating and when you can do those refinances or make good, solid investments or saving the taxpayer dollars today, but we're also planning for the future.
Now, you mentioned a balanced budget. Is there a formal budgeting process for the city that we go through?
One of the things that I thought was very important when we look at how we spend the taxpayer dollars, our dollars, is that we plan it out. And that we don't just plan for this year. We plan for 5, 10, 15 years. And so one of the things that we've made solid, one of the things that we've made very important is our strategic plan. Strategic planning has been used in the corporate world for many years, and it's something that I think is important to have in the government world. And so we've started a strategic plan. We start that with council. We talk about the issues, talk about where we want to go. But what's neat about it is we take the vision plan, the DPZ vision plan this community came up with in 2008. We take the comprehensive plan that started in 2007. We look at the things that our community said, hey, we want you to do this. We want you to do this. And we try to formulate that into our strategic plan and make those components fit. Once we finish with the strategic plan, then we start the budget process. And that's where hopefully what's come out in the community meetings, what's come out in our vision plans, and also what's come out from the staff comes out into the budget. And then we have numerous work sessions about the budget itself that are open to the public, and I think that's important as well.
Well, it is, and I know that leads me to, the transparency we've heard a lot lately, and I don't want to get into a difficult conversation, but, change, transparency, the future, communication, partnering, synergy, all of these words, you see them in the newspaper and on social media.
That's right.
Talking about all these things in relation to the current city government, some positive, some negative. Under your leadership, what steps do you feel have been initiated in these areas within the citizenry of Camden?
Well, I think the transparency is probably, one of the ones that's probably the hardest and the topic that most people want to talk about now. And transparency, I think, for us is that we have been more transparent in the last 3.5 years than the city was before. And not that the city was hiding anything, not that the city didn't have anything, but we've also opened it up for our new website. Every council meeting that we have, the minutes, the budgets, all those things are online. You can view every meeting that we've had, the minutes of that. That wasn't there before. The budgets, they were at City Hall. You could go access one, but you couldn't get it online at your house. And so now those budgets are there. The budgeting briefs are there. It explains the process. And I think that's important that we make sure that people understand what's going on when it comes to transparency. Because if we're not transparent, people don't feel like they understand what's going on in government. And I think that's one of the things that we've worked hard in the transparency level. I think one of the other things that you talked about was, I think, synergy.
Synergy, partnering.
Yeah, partnering. When you look at the private-public partnership, that's where Camden and our community has been successful. And I think that's where we've got to do more of. And, it's finding the right moment and the right time for those partnerships. But if you think about some of the ones that we've been a part of in the most recent, the Equine Park is another prime example of something the city was a part of, the county was a part of, and we're making progress with it. There's something out there almost every weekend, and that drives our community. It drives, but it's not in the city limits, but the city's investing in it because it's important. And that's one of those examples. The other one that we're working on now with the tourism office. That's a new component for our community. I think our community's talked about tourism and how we need to promote our community. We've joined with the county. Gene Wise and I got together and we talked about what we needed to do. We met with some local businesses downtown at a restaurant and said, hey guys, what is it we need to do? And that's what we came with, and then we made it happen. Usually in government, things take a lot longer. But that's one of those examples when we got together, we talked about the issues, we brought the business community together, we've made that partnership. And now we've got to support that partnership and make it successful.
And you were able to do it in a relatively short period of time?
Definitely, most definitely.
What you talked about tourism. What is being done, planned, budgeted to improve tourism?
As you look around Camden right now, one of our new things that's out there is the Grab Life. Grab Life by the Reins is a new logo that the city is adopting. So you'll see new banners around our community. We have a Camden app, which it's neat to be able to go to places and say, hey, we were one of the first cities in South Carolina that had an app. And so we're proud of stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that it's taking the technology that's there, but focusing that back on the history, and so that we can promote what is important about our community, but also open it up to the world. Because we definitely, we've got the first Chinese plant in America is right here in Camden. We have 2 German plants that are right here in Camden. We are a part of something special, and we've got to make sure other people know about it.
Local economic development and global.
That's right.
In a global
right here in
way.
Camden.
What is being done, and what do you feel is the way ahead for promoting responsible economic growth in Camden? When
you look at it, comes back to partnerships. If we want to be successful, we've got to look at the business opportunities that come here. I think it's having a person, an individual on our staff that can work with the businesses that say, hey, I want to relocate in Camden. We've had some examples of that of the Sonic. They were in Lugoff, but they decided to come into our community here in Camden. And it's exciting when businesses choose to come here. Chick-fil-A is one of those other examples that's on the way. And that's a partnership where it takes the business community. I know Wade Luther met with Chick-fil-A early on in the process and talked about some of the things that we could do as a community. But when you have businesses looking to your community, wanting to locate in your community, that's when you know you're being successful.
And that's strong. Okay, switching gears again. I know you can't talk about pending legal action, two groups, associated persons suing the county, or suing, the city relative to the hospitality tax, but it is definitely a hot topic. Can you explain your thoughts on how you think the hospitality tax should be utilized within the city?
Yeah, what's interesting about the hospitality tax, that was a tax that was put in about the same time I was elected. There were a lot of folks that were against the tax at that time, and what is interesting is a lot of those same folks are now trying to tell us how to spend the money. And so we've got to look at that, and how do we invest our dollars? I mean, these are indeed our dollars that come from ourselves, and me and you when we go out to eat, but also the folks that come in our community. And I think it's important that we reinvest in our community. I think there are options out of making infrastructure improvements, to making green spaces, to the banners, the apps, all those things that we can make solid improvements and investments. And that's part of what we need to do with the hospitality tax. But also, that same partnership with the county. Some of those hospitality tax dollars are going to that. And also, when you look at our website and things like that we're doing to promote ourselves, you'll see a lot more to come this year in ways we're going to promote our community. But it's going to take partnerships to make that happen.
And you think that some of the hospitality tax should be used to fund that?
Oh, definitely. I think if the purpose of the hospitality tax is to make reinvestment in our community by promoting our community as a whole. Right. I don't think it necessarily for this business or that business, but a community as a whole. And I think we've got something to sell. We just got to get it in the right brand.
Get it out there. You talked about the infrastructure and capital improvements. Can you share some thoughts on the infrastructure and capital improvements and how those are being funded? Are they different?
Yeah, they are. We our capital fund that we have is to make improvements. And so one of the things we've been doing is looking at the 5-year, 10, 15-year plan so that we know there's a project, like the sewer plant. That's one of those projects that nobody wants to talk about, but it's a huge investment, about $34 million. Well, that's one of those things you've got to do, but it's how do you make that investment over the long haul? So when it comes to underground projects, when you look around town, those are done through grants, those are done through matching money, and that's where you get your bang for your buck. When you can go after a grant, when you can go after, use this money here or the utility money to combine, then you can make some real investment as we go. And that's one of the things we've done. We've done a pay-as-you-go system. Mm-hmm. So we're not borrowing money to put the power underground. We're not borrowing money to make our community look better. We're paying this as we go, which I think is the right way to make a community sustainable.
And fiscally responsible. With all of these improvements, how do we keep our history and our local treasures? I mean, we talk about all this progress and growth. How do we keep the essence of who we are?
And that's the part that's amazing to me. This is my home. This is where I want to be. This is where my children are. And I plan on them being here for many years. And I think that's why you have to make the investments. If you don't, things will crumble from underneath us. And we found some of that in some of our streets that you and I ride down every day, crumbling streets. And so I think it's important that we look at how our city grows and we preserve the things that are important. I don't know if you've been to the archives recently, but if you look at the programs and the investment we're making in it, because we want history to be alive. History is not just something from the past. It's how we're shaped, and I think it also affects where we go.
Thank you, Mayor. One quick question, we've got to wrap it up. What do you think is your biggest accomplishment in your first term?
My biggest accomplishment, I believe, is, where we're going. I think our community has had a lot of incredible things happen in the last 3.5 years. There are a lot of people engaged in what's going on. But we're making investment, we're making improvements, and I think that's what it's about. So if I say, one thing over another, I don't know for certain. But what I can say is that I think we're moving in the right direction. I think communities, families are making this their home, and I think that'll happen for generations if we continue to do the right things and make investment. And so that's what I'm going to work towards. So I think my best accomplishment is the work we've done. If you look around at our community, you can see us, City Hall, this community, working to make things better.
Move forward. Thank you so much. Is there somewhere our viewers can find out more information about you? Facebook page, website, anything else you'd like to?
We've got it all out there. Obviously, my website is electjeffreygraham.com. I'm on Facebook. I have open office hours every Thursday, so there are plenty of opportunities. If you want to look me up, give me a call and let me know about the opportunities or questions or concerns that you have about our campaign and what we're doing, and also where we're focusing on the future.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mayor. I'm going to shake your hand.
Yeah, sorry about it.
Appreciate your time this evening. Go enjoy some dinner.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We'll be right back with more on Dishing the Issues. Coming up next, our next interview will be Clerk of Court Joyce McDonald. Our next guest tonight is Kershaw County Clerk of Court Joyce McDonald. Joyce, thank you so much for taking time to be with us this evening.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
How long have you served as Clerk of Court?
I am in my 20th year.
Oh, wow. That's a long time. What made you decide to run for Clerk of Court? I understand. Is it an elected office?
It's an elected position, and I have to run every 4 years. Kershaw County has been very kind to me and my family. I was born and reared here, and I wanted to give something back to Kershaw County of my service to them, for them, and to thank them and by making a difference in Kershaw County government.
That is wonderful. I don't want to show my ignorance, but what exactly do you do as Clerk of Court? I see your name, but I really don't know what that means.
The Clerk of Court position is a constitutional position. It's basically the Clerk of Court is responsible for keeping records. We're called the keeper of the records. And we have 3 separate courts, which is common pleas, general sessions, and family court. So everything that has to be filed in these 3 courts has to be filed in my office.
In your office. So you're responsible for all of it. That
Yes.
is a big job. So there are 3 courts. What are some of the changes that have occurred in the last 20 years?
Well, everything basically now is computerized. One of the biggest changes we had was in 2002 when we separated everything that was judicial from non-judicial. Everything judicial stayed in the courthouse.
Right.
All the non-judicial offices moved to the government center. And a part of my office was the Register of Deeds. I handle real estate. That was the year we separated the offices and made it a separate entity. And I do not have the jurisdiction of the Register of Deeds. And 3 of my employees went into that office, and they're doing an outstanding job.
That is wonderful.